Our code starts with the data section, which is required for this programming. Within this section, we have our variables followed by strings that display congratulations messages, instructions, and messages that will display later on during the code as the player continues to play it. So after these variables, we move down to the text block of code, which is also another essential for MIPS programming. So usually within Python, we call some of these things functions, but here we call them procedures. So if we go to some of our procedures here, our first one is main, which asks the user if they want to input X or O, and then after they do that, there's a syscall function, as you see here, and you'll see throughout the code and many other places, that just tells the code to run all the information that was entered above it. So after the main section, the next few functions or procedures, as I said, we're called the MIPS here, essentially just ask the values from player 1, and if they want to use X or O, and then they'll take that value from player 1 and player 2, they'll input it onto the grid, the 3x3 grid, and then it'll continue to do so as the game progresses. And once a player has won the game, a message from before in the data section will congratulate the player, and then it will also ask if they want to play the game again. And if they say yes, then the game will rerun and it will go again.
Hi there, my name is Varun, and my partner Tommy explained the first half of the codes, and I'll be explaining the second half, starting off with the end procedure. It basically says that to end the main procedure, or else it will run in an infinite recursion, and it's pretty bad if you don't include these codes right here. Now, moving on to the board grid. So this procedure will initiate the board grid, and the following procedure creates a loop to create the board. It also specifies how big the board has to be. It also calls multiple procedures like grid line, which creates a new board line and runs board grid loop again whenever a player enters a spot value. Now, again, as I mentioned before, this is the grid line procedure. And now moving on to the set value procedure. Now, this sets the value on the board grid according to user input, and also uses the procedure called store word to save the values in the T0 register so it can be used later. And now, as I said earlier, this is a store word procedure. Now moving on to the winner procedure, which initiates and loads T1 values and runs the winner check loop procedure, which loops through multiple procedures like column check and column check 2 to check if the values are equal. Then it would go back to the main procedure. So this will keep running to check every time once input is entered to check if a winner is elected, either from player 1 or player 2. And as I mentioned before, with the procedures, column check 1 and 2 procedures checks column-wise if the values are equal, with the row check and diagonal check procedures. Similarly, the row check and diagonal check procedures also checks if the values are equal. Then it jumps to the winner check loop. So we'll keep looping again every time an input's enter to check if there's a winner. If not, it'll ask for another input. And moving on, it'll also loop again, and it'll check if there's a winner. If not, it'll ask for another input. And again, these are the other procedures that also creates win conditions, either diagonally or row-wise or column-wise. And after that, again, once it does a check, it'll return back to the main, and it'll ask for the user input, and it'll run these checks, and then it will return back to main. I'm pretty sure you guys get the ideas now. And after that, now I'll assemble the code and show you guys the output. Starting off assembly, now it'll ask for either X or 0. I would enter X. So now it's going to ask, so this created the board, and now it's going to ask choose a spot. So I'm going to start with 2 for X, and I want to pick 3 for 0, O. I'm going to pick 5 for X, 6 for O, and finally, to make X win, I'm going to press 8, and congratulations, player 1-1. Now we just play again. Now press Y, and it'll start the game again. Now that's about it. Before I end the video, we would like to thank GitHub and many YouTube tutorial videos that helped us create the base for making this assignment. And thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.